Broken Chains by Patrick Bishop, July 19th, 2016. Unshod and clothed in tattered rags, feet's soles split by the cold, your soul has shed its misery, draped now in robes of gold. Your family cruelly sold away, from your arms your babies torn, emancipated by the grave, in God's liberty reborn. Feel no more that cursed lash beneath the broiling sun, no more that loathsome weight of chains, no more the need to run. Safe at last in God's embrace, from hunger, pain, and fear, receiving solace from that hand that wipes away each tear. For in that day of judgment, which all with souls must face, to you God whispers soft the words, forever in my grace. Take your rest, arise refreshed, into God's blissful dawn, no more to toil in service to enemies long gone. For no man can be truly free who would another own. Such a bitter burden on the soul, how now that soul must groan, which thought it was your master, which upon its brethren trod, now stands encumbered with such sins before Almighty God. The First 5 Days of Forever. You were 30 years old and went to bed on a Sunday night just like any other. Imagine that you woke up as a baby, with all the confusing and mysterious sensations and obstacles that every baby faces, lacking the physical equipment to articulate your feelings and memories. Those memories of your life as a 30-year-old slowly fade, and by the time you learn how to speak, your old life seems like the dream, not the reality. So you grow up, experiencing all the joys and miseries of life, only now and then troubled by a sense of déjà vu, or by dreams of other lands and other times, and of faces that are strange but somehow precious. You live a life. You grow old, and naturally, you die. It was a full life of 80 years, and as you close your eyes for the last time, you open them again. You swing your legs over the side of the bed and sit there for a long moment, trying to remember your name, recognize the things around you, the jewelry on your hands, the other person stirring under the covers. You're 30 years old. It's Monday morning and time to get ready for work. Mercifully, the old patterns, the old ways, they come back quickly enough, but something has changed, and the change is permanent. You feel fresh, completely alive. You haven't felt this good in 50 years, and then you remind yourself, you haven't been alive 50 years, yet. There it is, that feeling, and now you know what it is. You're not 30 anymore, no, but 30 plus the other 80 you lived while you were sleeping. Throughout the day, the problems that you face, the problems the world faces, everything looks differently to you. You're seeing it all with eyes and a mind that are, for all practical purposes, 110 years old. You must be crazy, right? You say nothing to anyone. It's just a normal day. Your spouse wonders why you're so quiet. You're just tired, you say, and the conversation soon takes another direction. You lay awake for hours after the rest of the house is asleep. You could write a book, you say to yourself. Tomorrow you'll do it if you remember. Then you close your eyes and a new dream comes, one in which you're a little baby, and this time it takes 76 years before you wake up. The same disorientation fogs your mind for the first 30 minutes of your Tuesday morning. You listen to the news on the way to work. Your country is fighting a war, a politician was caught in a scandal, and a woman was executed for killing her 3 children. Your office mate at work is getting a divorce, and you listen patiently to his litany of woe as he justifies why he's leaving his wife. Your company just won a huge contract, and you skipped lunch to go for a walk, during which you met the former leader of your country as he shook hands with people on a sidewalk. None of this excites or fascinates you. Somehow everything seems to be very superficial today. After all, you're seeing it with the eyes and mind of a soul of 186 years. At home, you eat only a light supper and try to start your book, but the words refuse to come. Words somehow seem inadequate to express the feelings and thoughts you are having. You would need to invent some new words for these things. You stumble off to bed and are asleep almost as soon as your head hits the pillow. You dream and dream and dream, but only for 38 years this time. You wake up with a shout at 2:30 in the morning, clutching your chest. Your spouse tries to reassure you that it was just a nightmare and to go back to sleep, but you are not looking forward to it. The smell of the explosive from the flak that hit your cockpit seems to linger in the air around your bed. Sleep comes reticently this time, and the last time you look at the clock it says 4 o'clock. In the 2 hours before your alarm wakes you for work, you dream 92 years' worth of parties and schoolyard bullies and moonlight walks and your sweetheart and children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and weddings and funerals and a war and an economic collapse and losing the family farm and surviving cancer and a divorce and. Your feet hit the floor at 6:10 on Wednesday morning. The people in your office with their little political intrigues and love affairs and worrying about this deadline and that bottom line look like preschoolers to you. The death toll in your country's war tops 7,000, and the cost of petroleum has jumped another $4 per barrel, and some ethnic group in some foreign country has just butchered all the people from a neighboring village belonging to a different ethnic group, and it seems like the world is run by monkeys. This should come as no surprise, given that you were seeing the world with the eyes and mind of a soul of 316 years. Between Wednesday night and Thursday morning, you age another 52 years, and you dread your commute this morning because of the horrifying fiery crash that sent you to the intensive care unit, where the tubes and bandages couldn't keep infection from eating you alive. And at lunch today, the boss orders a scotch and offers to buy you one, but now you associate the smell of booze with that of burning flesh. Thursday night finds you trying to ignore your spouse's demands for attention. Why are you acting so introverted lately? And let's make some plans for the weekend. You never talk to me about your problems anymore. You're so jumpy lately. Are you having an affair, or what is going on? So, barely able to control your shaking, you pour yourself a tall scotch, but fail to keep it down as you try to reflect on 368 largely misspent years. Your son's Friday evening soccer game gives you some joy, but at the Pizza Hut later, you absent-mindedly doodle in a mix of Sumerian cuneiform and Mayan glyphs on the napkin. The sideways glances from the other parents don't trouble you. Why would they? Nothing gets to you anymore. After all, you're 457 years old. Let's soar the soul. A wondrous, gentle, loving touch, a sweetly tender kiss, brings softly spoken destiny, as eyes when meeting mist. In midnight steep and longing deep, begin the lovers' dance. A tear is shed for childhood's end. Farewell to innocence. Trembling hands unzip, undress, dauntless seeking naked flesh. Outside omniscient thunder rolls. The rain downpours in sheets beholds. Majestic forms in motion. Erotic passion plays. that shall not lack intense emotion, till fate concludes their days. From candles inviting, entrancing light, loving intimate fervors fed, as arms embrace, and two forms grace a warm and cozy waiting bed. In tantric secrets, seraphic light, with bated breath and sweet delight, oasis lust in richest fashion, that fondles, gropes, enslaved by passion, the tongue and lips and fingertips, explore and taste, and without haste the secret seek. Let's soar the soul from peak to peak, spur on the throbbing, pulsing beat in phlogistonic haze and sudorific heat, sultry, creamy, twilight dreamy, smooth as silk that surges, steamy, flesh that trembles, yields and yearns, ecstatic rapture nature learns, magenta hues of lust, the darkling sunset on virginity, when fingers touch, caressing, cooing in the dark, till ivory thighs begin to part, and ebullient carnal knowledge comes, and darting, intertwining tongues the sanguinary rite partake, and all of this for loving's sake. Time stands droning, hanging still, to transcendental joy fulfill, opalescent treasure bared, all that once was secret shared, luxurious hours the lovers know, and unimagined love does grow, such opulence when souls unite, in climax rapt to unknown height. Now lazy, easy love they make, exquisite, unhurried pleasure take, the gentle art they practice well, though details they refuse to tell. A wondrous, gentle, loving touch, a sweetly tender kiss, brought softly spoken destiny, as eyes, when meeting, mist. The Romance of Forever. I sometimes wonder if you recall when first we fell in love. By the banks of the river in those days when the gods walked amongst us, I loosened your sandal and ate of the fruit you offered me in the tall grass, by the slow-moving water, as the sun tanned the back of my neck. I remember the look in your eyes, your fingers in my hair, and the sound of you breathing in and out. I sometimes wonder if you recall the second time we met, when I was your best friend, how we laughed in the trees among the loud singing birds. I learned how to play tricks on my parents, which you taught me to do. I kept your babies on my lap, each in turn, and watched them growing gray. You were my children's uncle, in heart, if not in blood. We buried you beneath the branches of that tree in which we used to play. I sometimes wonder if you recall the third time that we met. We dueled in the air like gods amongst the clouds. You dropped incendiary bombs on my city, and I dropped gas on yours. I fell to earth engulfed in flames, and only my buttons survived. My fleeing soul caught sight as it rose of your victory roll, as you flew through the smoke that used to be me. I sometimes wonder if you recall when next we fell in love, behind the barn where none could see, amongst the fresh baled hay. You made a woman of me then, and I a man of you. We had the wedding 9 months too late, according to my folks, but you always said that from the minute that we met, you were as married then and there as any man can get. I sometimes wonder if you recall when thrice we fell in love. I was only 21, the first time that we wed. You ran away, and let me go. I thought forevermore, but you came back, and we re-wed when I was 34. Then I came to hate your sight and left you in the bath, but then came back and we re-wed until we both died old. I sometimes wonder if you recall the 6th time that we met, running for high ground as the water rose amongst the pressing crowd. I recall the screaming and the stench, and how bravely you lifted me up when I stumbled. Remember how the children cried as we held them overhead, and the flood that overcame us left all but 7 dead. I sometimes wonder if you recall when next we fell in love. I was splitting reeds to make paper amongst my workshop tools. You brought a message from our master pertaining to a scroll. When you took my reply, I watched your swaying walk. 70 years later, our children left offerings at the door of our tomb in the hills above the manor. I sometimes wonder if you recall the 8th time that we met. The horsemen burned our village, and I gave birth to you amongst the ruins. The snow was falling, and the only sound was your crying and mine. To keep you suckling at my breast, I made a stew of friend and relation, and so we passed your first winter in the mountains. We fell in with a troop of entertainers, and I watched you dance for the little emperor. I sometimes wonder if you recall when next we fell in love. My son married your daughter amongst the tall cedars. My husband died, as did your wife, the day the ground shook and roared. The very next year I gave birth to my own son's sister-in-law, for you were her father. Do you remember the gossip, and how the priest wagged his head when we told him we would wed? I sometimes wonder if you recall the 10th time that we met. We seemed to recognize each other, and fell in love that time too, amongst the whispering gods. I wrote upon a piece of paper and locked it in a box. The truest words I ever wrote in 30,000 years, of living and dying and laughing and crying, of happiness and woe. If I must live, let it be by your side. If I must die, let it be in your arms. This is called the 30 Years. When his lady asked him to differentiate between love and attraction, he spoke to her daily thus. On the first of the rest of their days together, he said to her, "Attraction wants to take your body. Love wants to give you babies." She did not believe him. On the second of the rest of their days together, he said to her, "Attraction consumes, but love feeds." Still, she did not believe him. On the third of the rest of their days together, he said to her, "Attraction wants you, love wants you happy." But she did not believe him. On the 4th day he said to her, "Attraction dissipates, while love consummates." Still she did not believe him. On the 5th day he said to his lady, "Attraction is about doing the deed. Love is about doing the chores." She did not believe him. On the 6th of the rest of their days together, he said to her, "Attraction seeks its pleasure in you. Love seeks its pleasure in yours." She did not believe him. On the 7th day he said to her, "Attraction builds walls. Love builds bridges." But she did not believe him. On the 8th day of the rest of their lives together, he said to her, "Attraction makes people more childish. Love wants to make more children." She did not believe him. On the 9th day he said to her, "Attraction may overlook, but only love forgives." She did not believe him. On the 10th of the rest of their days together, he said to her, "Attraction critiques, love completes. She did not believe him, and so, in this fashion, time passed. On the 5,475th of the rest of their days together, he said to her, "Attraction wants you immediately. Love wants you forever." She did not believe him, and time passed and passed. On the 10,949th of the rest of their days together, he said to her, "Attraction takes everything except time. Love takes nothing else." But still, she did not believe him. On the next day, the 10,950th day that they had been together, in her arms, he died. And she believed him. She believed him.